I'm Larry O'Connor alongside Brian Wilson.
Joe diGenova, our legal analyst, former U.S. Attorney to the District of Columbia, joins us now. Joe, good morning to you.
Good morning.
All right, so there has been a big prisoner trade over the weekend.
Yes.
Bo Bergdahl is back in U.S. custody. We gave up 5 Taliban commanders to make that happen. Some are saying that the president did not follow the strictures of the law because he was required to notify Congress some 30 days before such a prisoner trade or a release of prisoners could take place. What's your thought of it? As commander-in-chief, does he have the right to make this kind of deal?
Well, he violated the law. There's no doubt about that. Whether or not, as the White House said, there were exigent circumstances which required him to violate the law, we will never know because there will be no information from the White House honestly explaining the decision. It's clear that the president wants to close Gitmo. He doesn't have the authority by law to close it, so he's closing it by emptying it out. And what he did was release 5 of the most dangerous people in the world, according to James Clapper, the Director of National Intelligence, who in 2010 testified that these were 5 of the most dangerous people in the world who could not be released. The president, by the way, issued a signing statement when this law was passed preventing him from transferring any prisoners from Gitmo without notifying Congress. This is the same president who condemned signing statements when they were being done by George Bush. What you have at work here is a lawless president who doesn't care with a media that allows him to get away with it. Get used to it, folks. This is going to be an ugly rest of his term.
Talk to me about this signing statement, Joe. I mean, you just mentioned that Obama condemned it when Bush issued a signing statement saying, listen, I'm signing this into law, but I contend that this portion of this law is infringing on my right as president or as commander-in-chief. So that clearly means that the President Bush did the same thing. What does that mean? Is there any sort of legal basis for it? Have these things been challenged before? Will this be challenged?
Well, no, there's no way to challenge these things. This is just gross hypocrisy by the president. The president has done this on every conceivable subject, condemned Bush and then repeated Bush. This is the guy who said that he would never use signing statements, and he has used them more than George Bush did. This is just politics at this point. The legality of this will never reach a court of law. This is all about the political process. And since the president is never going to be impeached for all of his lawlessness, this is just more fodder for political discussion. I frankly believe that the refusal to notify Congress under these circumstances is an impeachable offense, but I do not believe that impeachment is proper under these circumstances because Congress is never going to vote for it. But this is a lawless president, and the bottom line is he's going to continue to be lawless because there are no checks on him.
All right, so on this issue of Benghazi, there's the former Secretary of State is writing a book about this, and we've seen some excerpts from the chapter on Benghazi,
yes,
which reads more to me like spin than a regular historical accounting of what happened.
Yes.
And Hillary Clinton writes, and I quote here, "I will not be part of a political slugfest on the backs of dead Americans.
Yeah.
It's just plain wrong.
Well,
and it's unworthy of our, let me finish.
Yeah.
And it's unworthy of our country.
Yeah.
Those who insist on politicizing the tragedy will have to do so without me." Are you among those, Joe, who are politicizing the tragedy?
There are dead Americans because of Hillary. She failed to do her job. She failed to provide security. When Patrick Kennedy, the Undersecretary for Administration, turned down Ambassador Stevens' request for more security, all bets were off at that point. The security detail was reduced from more than 30 down to 9. This book is nothing more than an effort on her part to change the subject. It is an insult to the 4 dead Americans. It is spitting on their graves. But along with the mainstream media, she will get away with it. Because if you're a Clinton and you're a Democrat, you can do anything you want. And next, believe me, after the Guantanamo release of the 5 prisoners and this book, the next thing that's going to happen is wag the dog. Remember, I told you this a couple of weeks ago. They are going to go into Libya now, finally, because they have to, and get the perps who did the Benghazi terrorist attack. This will be an amazing event, and the president will be thumping his chest.
Joe diGenova, while we're on, guys, I've been meaning to ask you this, actually. Of course, you represent one of the whistleblowers there from the State Department.
Mm-hmm.
Has he been, can you say, has your client been contacted by the Select Committee yet? And what do you think the timeline is on the Select Committee? What have you heard? I know that you're involved.
My client is is a State Department employee who worked in the Counterterrorism Center, and he has not been contacted by the committee yet. The other client is Victoria's client, who's Gregory Hicks, who, to my knowledge, has not been contacted yet by the committee, although we obviously expect.
But does that surprise you, or
will be?
Is this going to be a long timeline? Does that surprise you that they haven't
I don't
been
think there's
contacted
any
yet?
doubt that the committee is doing the right thing, which is they're shutting up, getting out of sight, doing their work. Most of what they should do should be done in depositions. There should be no public hearings. This should all be done quietly. Get the records, and if they don't produce the records, have contempt proceedings right away. Don't do what the people like Darrell Issa and the House Armed Services Committee did, which is wait a year or two before you decide you're going to hold someone in contempt, and hope that the Senate goes Republican in 2014 so that the double whammy will occur, which is subpoenas from both houses and a joint select committee. But we shall see. We shall see. It's going to be a very slow process, and it should be.
All right, so we have a change over at the VA. The Shinseki is out, and now the question is, how will they resolve it? Any thoughts about that?
Well, there should be a criminal investigation. You know, we talked about this last week. There clearly has been destruction of records. There's been falsification of records. There's been mail fraud, wire fraud. There has been embezzlement from the government. All of these fake lists, which were designed to get bonuses, constitute fraud against the United States government. There should be a grand jury involved. There's no way at this point that the administration will be able not to investigate this criminally. The people at the senior levels of VA and the regional administrators who knew about these lists and created false lists so that they could get bonuses defrauded the United States government. Crimes have been committed, and this needs to be put in front of a federal grand jury.
Funny, we're not hearing a lot of talk about that, though, Joe.
Well, listen, this is a lawless administration, and the lawlessness includes the Department of Justice. It is a very sad thing to say that the Department of Justice has become so politicized that it cannot perform its legitimate functions. The President and the Attorney General are very close personal friends, and it is a sign of the dangers of having that type of relationship when you have things like this occurring, and it becomes more important to protect the President than it does to protect the lives of veterans. That's what this is about. This is to protect the President, not to protect the lives of veterans who died because of criminal activity. It is an embarrassment to those of us who worked in the department to see it sit there and do the bidding of the President on things like this. It is an embarrassment to the department.
Joe diGenova, you are on fire today. Obviously, you are ready for the summer. Happy June to you, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, and Flag Day's coming up.
That's right. By the way, speaking of the lawlessness of this administration, Jim Imhoff, senator from Oklahoma, he'll be here at 8:35.
Right.
Because the EPA, we didn't get to this with Joe, there's so much to talk to him. EPA is basically instituting today, completely unchecked by Congress, the cap-and-trade bill that never got passed.
Are you suggesting that this administration is legislating, Larry, through executive order?
It's 7